I had been working for only 5 minutes when I suddenly heard a shout. In the next moment, people were standing all around me. Not long after that time, I married my second wife, Emily. I went to live with her in Northern California. Her house was very big and stood on a large piece of land, just outside a small town. The nearest house looked almost the same, and it belonged to Emily's sister, Millicent. Although their houses and land were similar, the two sisters were completely different in looks and in nature. Millicent was tall and thin. She was very strong-minded and liked to control everyone around her, including Emily. She was not happy when I married Emily and took her away from her influence. Emily, on the other hand, was short and, as she often said herself, overweight. She believed she was about 11 or 12 kilos too heavy. She did not think she was very clever and usually did what other people wanted her to do, though not always. For the past 3 weeks, Emily had been away. During this time, Millicent had been watching me very closely. That afternoon, she was sitting with me in our living room, drinking coffee, when the telephone rang. I answered it. Yes, hello. Dear, this is Emily. My heart stopped. What is your surname? I asked. Oh really, dear. Emily. Your wife. I'm sorry, I said quickly. You must have the wrong number. I put the phone down. Millicent was watching me carefully. You look white as a sheet, she said. You seem frightened. Shocked. Who was it? It was a wrong number, I replied. Millicent took another sip of coffee. Oh, Albert, she said casually, I thought I saw Emily in town yesterday. But that's not possible, of course. Of course not, I said. Emily is in San Francisco. Yes, but where in San Francisco? She asked. She didn't say. She's visiting friends. Emily doesn't have any friends in San Francisco, Millicent said softly. I know all her friends. When will she be back? She wasn't sure, I answered. Then Millicent said, I heard that your first wife died in a boating accident. She fell out of the boat and drowned. Yes, I said quietly. She couldn't swim. And you were the only witness? Yes. No one else ever came forward. Did she leave you any money, Albert? That's none of your business, I said sharply. In fact, I continued, Cynthia had $50,000 in life insurance and one sailing boat. Poor Cynthia. She took her boat out alone that day. I saw the accident from the boat club and rushed out in another boat. But it was too late to save her. Millicent finished her coffee and left. After she was gone, I went for a walk through the woods behind the house. I reached an open space between the trees where a small stream flowed quietly. The place was peaceful and calm, a perfect place to rest. I had been coming here often in the last few days. I sat down on a fallen tree near the stream and thought about Emily and Millicent. Their houses and land were almost the same, so anyone would think they were equally rich, but that was not true, as I had discovered. After my marriage, Emily owned her house and the land around it. However, she could not afford to hire people to look after them. Millicent, on the other hand, employed many people in her house. She even had a lawyer to manage her money. She must have had at least $1 million. On Tuesday afternoons, I usually went to the supermarket in town. One day, in the car park, I saw a small, rather fat woman across the street. She was walking away from me. She was wearing a purple dress and a brown hat. It was the 4th time I had seen her in the last 10 days. My heart began to beat faster. I hurried across the street. She turned the corner, and I started to run. When I reached the corner, she had disappeared. There was no sign of her anywhere. I was still standing there when a car stopped beside me. It was Millicent. What are you doing, Albert? She asked. I saw you running. I've never seen you run before. Oh, I said, trying to sound calm, I was just getting a little exercise. I was still breathing hard as I walked back to the supermarket. The next morning, when I returned from my walk to the stream, I found Millicent in the sitting room. She was pouring coffee for herself. "I've been in the bedroom, looking at Emily's clothes," she said. "I didn't see anything missing." "Why should anything be missing?" I asked. "Has there been a thief in the house?" "Don't tell me Emily went to stay with friends in San Francisco without any luggage," Millicent said. "She did take luggage," I replied. "Not very much, though." "What was she wearing when she left?" "I don't remember," I said. That evening, as I prepared for bed, I opened Emily's cupboard and looked inside. Her clothes were still there. I wondered what could be done with them. Maybe I should give some of them away. I woke up at 2 in the morning. Bright moonlight was shining on my face. My heart felt heavy and restless. I got dressed and went out into the garden shed. I needed something to dig a hole. I chose a spade with a long handle, placed it on my shoulder, and started walking toward the stream. I was almost there when I stopped. I shook my head slowly. Something felt wrong. I turned back and returned to the shed. I put the spade away and went back to bed. The next morning, Millicent came to see me while I was having breakfast. She brought in the Morning Post, which had just arrived. Among the letters was one small blue envelope addressed to me. The writing on the envelope looked familiar. The postmark was from our local town. My hands felt cold as I opened the envelope and pulled out a sheet of paper. "Dear Albert, I miss you very much. I will return home soon, Emily." I quietly put the letter and the envelope into my pocket. "Well?" Millicent asked. "I thought I recognized Emily's handwriting on the envelope," she said. "Did she say when she will be back?" "That is not Emily's writing," I replied quickly. "It's a letter from my aunt in Chicago." "I didn't know you had an aunt in Chicago," she said. "Don't worry, Millicent," I answered. "I do have an aunt in Chicago." That night, I was lying in bed, awake, when the telephone beside me rang. "Hello, my sweet. This is Emily." My heart began to race. "You are not Emily," I said. "You are someone else." "Don't be silly, Albert," the voice replied. "Of course it's me, Emily." "You can't be Emily," I said. "I know where she is, and she couldn't telephone at this time of night." "You think you know where I am," the voice said softly. "No, I'm not there now." It was too uncomfortable, so I left. I jumped out of bed and got dressed. I went downstairs to the study and poured myself a drink. I drank it slowly, trying to calm my shaking hands. It was almost 1 o'clock in the morning when I went into the garden shed again. I took out the spade. This time, I walked all the way to the open space between the trees. I stopped beside the tallest tree and began taking long steps, counting quietly. 1, 2, 3, 4. I stopped at 16. Then I began to dig. I had been digging for nearly 5 minutes when I suddenly heard a shout. In the next moment, people were standing all around me. Bright lights were shining into my face. I recognized some of the workers from Millicent's house, including her lawyer. Then Millicent herself stepped forward. "So," she said coldly, "you wanted to be sure she was really dead, Albert. And the only way to do that was to return to the place where you buried her." "I'm looking for old Indian knives," I said quickly. "There is a belief that if you find one in the moonlight, it brings good luck." Millicent ignored my words. She pointed to a group of people I didn't recognize. "These are private detectives," she said. "They have been watching you 24 hours a day ever since I guessed what really happened to Emily." She then pointed at a small, rather fat woman. "That is Mrs. McMillan," she said. She was the woman in the purple dress. She copied Emily's handwriting. Then she pointed to another woman, "And this is Miss Peters. She is good at copying voices. She was the voice of Emily you heard on the telephone." Behind them stood 2 more detectives. They were holding their own spades. Now they began digging in the hole I had started. we knew you were getting nervous, Albert, Millicent said calmly. You almost dug her up last night, didn't you? But then you changed your mind. That was lucky for you. Last night, I didn't have many people watching you. Tonight, we were ready and waiting. The detectives dug for about 15 minutes and then stopped to rest. This ground is very hard, one of them said. They continued digging until the hole was about 2 meters deep. There is nothing buried here, one of them said. The only thing we found was an old Indian knife. I smiled at Millicent. What makes you think I buried Emily? I asked quietly. I turned and walked back toward the house. From the very beginning, I had guessed that Millicent was responsible for the false Emily who had appeared to me in different forms. It was all part of her plan. She believed that I had killed her sister, so she wanted to frighten me. She wanted to push me until I broke down and said, yes, I killed her. But I had been playing a game too. I wanted her to think I was afraid. I wanted her to believe that I had buried the body in that place in the woods. Now I was in a strong position. She had called me a murderer in front of many witnesses. I could take the matter to court and demand a large amount of money from her. But she would never want that. She would not want the world to know how foolish she had been. She would prefer to pay everyone to keep silent. That could be arranged. It would help if I supported her story and said that nothing had really happened. I was willing to do that for Millicent, if she gave me a large sum of money. At the end of the week, my telephone rang. Albert, this is Emily. I'm coming home now, dear. Oh, that's wonderful. I said. Did anyone miss you? They certainly did, she laughed. You didn't tell anyone where I've been for the last 4 weeks, did you? Especially not Millicent. No, I said. I told her you were visiting friends in San Francisco. Oh dear, Emily said. I don't know anyone in San Francisco. Did she believe you? I don't think so, I replied. Well, I couldn't tell her the truth, Emily said. I was ashamed. I went to a health farm to lose weight, and I wasn't sure I could do it. But I did, Albert. I really did. I've lost 14 kilos. My figure must be as good as Cynthia's now. Well done. Emily, I said warmly. That's wonderful. Emily was silent for a moment. Why am I jealous of your first wife? She asked softly. You both have your own place in my heart, I replied. Yes, she said, laughing again, but now none of my clothes will fit me. I'll need lots of new ones. Do you think we can afford it, Albert? Yes, I said quietly. We can now. With a little help from Millicent.